Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
A gentle breeze, the soothing sounds of a gently flowing river, the glow of the moon, a bountiful harvest, basic human emotions such as fear and rage, even death, they all have an unseen force guiding them, and while these forces work together to make the world what it is, they each aspire for influence over those who believe in them.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is the story of Kami-sama, a new game that's on Kickstarter, about finishing up pretty soon here. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on Mark, who is the community manager for Kolossal Games. Thanks for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it, Mark.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. It's going to be a good time chatting with you this evening.
Yeah, glad to have you. I don't recall ever having a community manager on with us before. We've had like artists of games and designers of the games and whatnot. So that sounds like a pretty important job, I guess.
Yeah, I basically am. I manage the actual Kickstarter campaign, which is the biggest, most important piece of what I do. Managing the campaigns in terms of making sure when a stretch goal gets unlocked, we update images on the page. Campaign updates get written, go out on time. Most of those are being written by me as well. I've got some graphic designers that are helping out with images that I need to say, hey, I need these images for an update, and they get those. Replying to comments and messages, of course, and handling retail pledges. So there's a lot that goes into the Kickstarter, but then outside of the Kickstarter, I also manage our Board Game Geek page for not only Kolossal Games, but for all of our games. So Kami-sama, that's on Kickstarter now. We just finished up Western Legends. We've got some things that are coming out that have BGG pages, so managing those things. And then, of course, I come in and help out with social media with our social media team and help out with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything there where they need me to pop in and either moderate some comments or, help out with social content. If someone's out of town for a weekend or something like that, I can step in and help out. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of more, not really behind the scenes, but it's something you don't think of when you think of a game that's coming out, because it is, like you said, it's the artists, the designers, the developers that folks usually think of, but there's a lot of I guess administrative stuff that goes on that I do a lot of.
Yeah, you sound like you're the go-to guy. Like if anybody's contacting the different social medias or the Kickstarter page, like the comments and the messaging and whatnot, it sounds like you get the brunt of that from what it sounds like.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. Those messages will come through whether they're comments or they're direct Kickstarter messages or people posting in the forums on Board Game Geek. I usually am replying to those, and obviously on the Kickstarter page it comes through as Kolossal Games, but if you're on Board Game Geek, you'll see me on there. I'm actually replying from my own Board Game Geek account as the Chubby Meeple. So I don't know if people out there that are listening have heard the name Chubby Meeple before. I've been a Dice Tower contributor, video contributor, help with the Instagamers Network, doing some videos for them, and I've just been did some blogging as well, so it kind of stepped away from that a little bit as I've taken on a new role with Kolossal, but the Chubby Meeple logo's out there and being used, and so I figured might as well keep it going, and so you'll see if you go to Board Game Geek and look at the forums for any of our games out there, you'll see a lot of replies from the Chubby Meeple, and that's me.
Well, there you go. At least it didn't destroy your your personality or whoever you were beforehand, before Kolossal Games come along.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's always nice. So let's rewind a little bit before we don't have to go all the way back, unless of course you were born into board games. But how did you get into tabletop board gaming, Mark?
Yeah, back in high school, I was a Magic the Gathering player, so it's a pretty standard story there. A lot of people in the gaming industry came in through Magic, but I played Magic the Gathering back in high school. I was part of a team, like a debate team kind of, that traveled around schools, and a lot of us, a lot of the kids that were in the program from other schools, we all became friends, and we'd sit down. The competitions were generally 4 rounds throughout the day on a Saturday Saturday, and we'd hit the bus at 7 o'clock in the morning, go to another school and compete through 4 rounds. But between rounds, we would sit down with kids from other schools and play Magic. And if someone had to run off to go compete in an event they had going on, then they would just sit out the next round. And it was literally just casual play, so it wasn't any kind of tournament play or anything like that. Of course, we're building our own decks and doing some trading and those kinds of things. I fell out of Magic when I went into college, and then after college, it was quite a while. I still continued playing some games and playing Magic here and there with my brothers whenever we'd get a chance, but it wasn't anything heavy. And then about 4 years ago now, I got back into more of the traditional tabletop gaming. A guy that I work with just said they were having a board game night, wanted to know if I wanted to swing by, and I said sure. And the first game that hit the table that night was Spectre Ops. So it's kind of you hear people like, oh, my gateway game was Ticket to Ride or Carcassonne or something like that, and my gateway game technically it was Spectre Ops. If you don't count Magic the Gathering from my high school days, which is a kind of an interesting throw yourself in the deep end of modern board gaming kind of gateway. And then we played Formula Day that night. We played Zombicide that night, and it just kind of grew from there. I started became a regular at those game nights, and of course being in Indianapolis, Gen Con is huge here, so of course going to Gen Con, and then it kind of blossomed from there. I started wanting to do some reviews and write blogs and do Kickstarter previews. That was just a straight blog on WordPress that I was writing. Got invited to do the Instagamers Network, which was just a bunch of Instagram personalities that were producing a YouTube show where everybody would film a 5-minute clip over the theme every 2 weeks, and they'd stitch them all together and make like a 25-30-minute episode out of it. And so got into that with them and kind of caught the YouTube bug from there. So then I started my own YouTube channel as the Chubby Meeple, and ended up, like I said, becoming a video contributor to the Dice Tower and participating in things like the crowd surfing segment that they did and still do. I do Favorite Game Friday, which is now on the Dice Tower. By the time I started doing it, it was with Roy Canada of Epic Gaming Night. So I was doing Favorite Game Friday videos and putting reviews on the Dice Tower as well. And then and of course traveling to cons on press badges for the Chubby Meeple so that I could interview designers and publishers and things for my blogs and YouTube channel. And then I ran into Travis Chance, our president here at Kolossal. Ran into him at Origins where he announced Kolossal this past year, and sat down, played some games with him, some prototypes of. In fact, it was the first time I actually ever played Kami-sama. Was a prototype version. Quite a few iterations ago back in Origins 2017, and then a couple weeks after Origins, he put the call out that he was looking to make a couple of hires for the new company, and I just reached out, and a couple weeks after that, I was full time with Kolossal. So, and I've been with Kolossal now since August of last year, and so going to Gen Con, last Gen Con this past Gen Con I was with Kolossal, but the Gen Con before that I was just a gamer that was there, hanging out and playing games and walking up and talking to some of the personalities. But so it's been an interesting kind of pretty quick uphill climb into it, but the gaming world itself is incredible. We've got a great community of gamers that are all supportive of one another and being really inclusive and just hey come sit down and play a game with us. You go to a con and people just throw those players wanted sign out, and they don't care who sits at their table. They just want someone to play a game with and someone meet someone new, and I think that's a fascinating thing.
So wow, 4 years, all that in 4 years?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been quick, and in fact the first couple years of that were just me playing games and kind of getting back into the atmosphere and the community and discovering what was out there, because even back then there was a lot that I was unfamiliar with, and we see hundreds and thousands of games that come out every year, and to keep up with them, there's no way you can possibly play everything. But I would say probably from the starting the Chubby Meeple blog to doing the YouTube channel to going full time, hitting the Dice Tower and going full time with Kolossal probably happened in the span of about a year. So it's a really quick turnaround. I started my blog after Gen Con of 2016. October of 2016 was when I joined the Instagamers and caught the YouTube bug. And it was January 2017 I was introduced or became a video contributor to the Dice Tower. And then, like I said, June 2017 was at Origins, and August of 2017 I started with Kolossal. So, you're talking August of 2016 starting a blog to August of 2017 being full time in the industry. So, a year turnaround there. But with the blog the blog and the YouTube channel, I was hitting stuff pretty hard and kind of really developing a lot of relationships with not only Dice Tower personalities, but doing a lot, other reviewers and other content creators, other podcasters, developing, a lot of online relationships and networking through there. So when it came, when I was going to these conventions and doing my, interviews with developers and publishers and designers and whoever else I was speaking to at the time, they were people that I'd communicated with online. So it was just like talking to a friend. So it was pretty easy and came pretty naturally. And I'm a talker anyway. So that kind of helps the situation.
Yeah, wow. So how much content would you say you were, while you're still doing it before you got going full time or whatnot, how much content would you say you put out on a weekly basis or whatnot?
Yeah, on a weekly basis, I was probably doing somewhere just a couple of reviews a week. Every single week, I was churning out the Favorite Game Friday videos, which are quick little 5 to 10 second, just basically saying the name of a game that fits the category of the week. I don't know if you're familiar with Roy's Favorite Game Friday format, but he literally says, "Hey, this week we're doing favorite family game," and so you literally hold up the box, say the name of it, and that's it. And the whole idea of it is that you're doing kind of selfie camera with your cell phone, so it's nothing high production value. Now, some of the people that are on there do some fantastic post-production work and editing of their videos, and it's crazy to see what people come up with the creativity that's out there. But generally with that stuff, it was just, hey, I want to shoot my camera up. I'd set up on a tripod so I could stand up and say, hey, here's my game, and it was a quick little 5-second video, and take 15-20 minutes to shoot and edit and upload to Dropbox, so Roy would have it in time. So those were happen weekly. Like I said, reviews were probably 1 to 2 reviews a week, and then I was doing on my own channel, was also putting a lot of how to play videos, some board game reviews, had some Kickstarter previews from folks who were coming to Kickstarter that were sending me prototypes. So I was doing some Kickstarter preview videos, and those were happening fairly frequently. I would say those were happening probably even more frequently than what I was doing on the Dice Tower. Those were probably doing 2 to 3 of those a week. And so I was spending quite a few hours. And at this time, working a full-time job completely outside of content creation. So I'd go work, 8 hours a day full-time, and then come home and shoot video. And usually what would happen is I would shoot all the video, and then, either later in the evening while I was sitting in front of the TV, or even in some cases while I was at work in my full-time job, I would be editing the videos that I shot the previous night, I'd use editing software on my iPhone or my iPad, edit things there, and then throw it in Dropbox so I could put the finishing touches on it when I was back home. So found ways to make it work. It was a little crazy, but yeah, I think there was definitely an itch that I was looking to scratch that I definitely was happy with and enjoyed creating the content. And I still, even in my role with Kolossal, the Kickstarters, we've run 2 Kickstarters now. Well, Kami-sama's still going, but we had Western Legends. We're running Kami-sama right now, and on those pages for each of those campaigns, the how to play videos that were there, I shot those and edited those and taught the game. And so those how to play videos on both Kickstarter pages were content creation. So I still get to do some of the video work. I'm just doing it in a more official capacity now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I got to figure out some of that stuff. Like, I barely got an iPod, so maybe that'll help. But I got to figure out how to go ahead and edit at work. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I'll say a lot of the videos, at least early on, a lot of the video that I was shooting it on my iPhone. So I had an iPod, or a tripod that would hold, and a little clasp that would hold my phone, so that it wasn't shaky video. And I had a lapel mic that plugged into my phone, so sound quality was good. And I went out and got a couple of umbrella lights on Amazon for $70 or something for the set. So the table was always really well lit, and I would record on my iPhone most of the time and drop those into iMovie again on the iPhone and or sometimes the iPad and do my editing, cropping clips and things like that. And then if I needed to do anything more, then I would pop it in Dropbox so I could pull it up on a computer and use, some kind of other editing software if I needed something more than what the iOS version of iMovie gave me. But yeah, being able to do it on my phone made it, like very portable and easy to do on the go. And the first, I would say probably the first 95% of what I was done was shot using my iPhone camera. The cameras on these phones are so great nowadays that you really can't tell whether it's shot on the phone or whether it's shot on a high quality camera with all that depth of field and lenses and all of that. So the quality is there, and having the microphone plugged into the phone so it's recording audio at the same time and not just using the built-in mic on the phone is important as well. So I feel like I was able to accomplish quite a lot with not a lot of equipment, and that I'm kind of proud of that fact.
So yeah, I got to totally figure something out like that, because I'm not going to lie to you. I recently started gaming a lot more recent than that, not the 4 years, but more like, let's say here, 2 years. Well, I don't know if it's quite 2 years, but not this last Christmas, but the previous Christmas. Before that point, my wife was getting into she kind of caught the bug. She would get the Kickstarters here and there, and we'd play a couple games here and there and whatnot. But not this last Christmas, but the previous Christmas before that, I sat down to play Blood Rage with my son. I don't remember how old he was, but he'll be 9 in September, and we sat down and played that after watching a Rodney Smith video, and it was like Christmas, and that's kind of when I fell in love with the gaming. So I should have started this back in February of last year, but was scared and a chicken, to tell you the truth. So I didn't get started till May. But then in August, I ended up, before I was just doing one episode a week, but in August, I started at least having 3 episodes per week on our podcast, ranging from 20 minutes to, I want to say, an hour or whatnot. And yeah, that can take it out of you. And a lot of times I'm doing more than 3 episodes a week, just because sometimes I go a little bit overboard on how many interviews I'm doing and whatnot.
Absolutely, and that's a lot to keep track of as well. Trying as far as so many audio files and who goes where, and that there's a lot going on if you've got multiple podcasts going out a week. I mean, I know even the people that do the podcast where they're doing them bi-weekly talk about how much work it is. They're doing one podcast every 2 weeks, and they talk about how much work it is to record the different segments they do and edit all that together, and you throw an interview on top of that, it gets even more complicated. So doing three a week, that's incredible, and you're being able to churn them out regularly at that rate is impressive.
Yeah, I'd say 95% of the time. I think I missed a couple weeks where, well, not a couple weeks total, but like there might be a week here or there where I didn't get an episode up on a day or two maybe, but for the most part, I'd say 95% of the time doing that. I want to say, talking to Richard, who you guys were on his podcast a while back ago, of We're Not Wizards, and also Mark McKinnon, who will have a game going on to Kickstarter this coming week. Probably by the time you hear this, it'll be up there, but they say I'm like a monster. They're over in the UK, and actually it was close. I don't know. I want to say it was when I started doing the 3 times a week or whatnot, or maybe somewhere around there. I was actually numbered in the UK. I was number 9 on the top podcast or whatnot. I had actually beat out the Dice Tower. It was only,
oh wow,
it was very short lived, but I'll take my second of fame or whatnot.
Absolutely, you got to take it when you get it. I mean, those kinds of accomplishments are incredible. I mean, we had I remember leading up to the Kickstarter campaign for Western Legends, which was the first Kickstarter campaign that we ran as Kolossal. Now Travis, of course, he's basically a Kickstarter expert. Western Legends was his, I believe, 17th successful Kickstarter. All of those being delivered on time. I think the latest he delivered was like a 6-week Kickstarter, and that was because it was delivering during the middle of like a monsoon season, and some kind of natural disaster had hit manufacturing. Things were completely out of his control, but he knows what he's doing when it comes to fulfilling Kickstarters and making them successful. But when we were leading up to Western Legends, the first one that was under the Kolossal umbrella, there was a lot of we want to be on the BGG hotness leading into this Kickstarter. We want to have eyes on the campaign before the campaign even hits. We want people to know it's going to be there, so that when we launch that at 10 a.m. in the morning or whenever we launch, that people are ready to hit that back button immediately and pledge right away. And so we're watching Western Legends climb up the BGG hotness, And about 2 days before the campaign, we got to number 2 on the hotness, and number 1 on the hotness was Gloomhaven. And we're looking at this, and we're like, we're looking at our numbers as far as number of forums and people interacting with us on BGG versus people interacting with the Gloomhaven page. And we were just like, you know what, we're going to be happy to be number 2. There's no way we're going to top Gloomhaven as far as hotness is concerned. At that time, Gloomhaven had just become the number 1 rated game on BGG, so there was a lot of hype around it at that time. And and I'm pretty sure it was like I think I heard that when that happened and Gloomhaven became the number 1 game on BGG, that it was like the 6th time in the history of BGG that there was a new number 1 game. So it was a really big deal. And everybody went to bed. We're number 2. We'll be happy to be number 2. We'll just stay at number 2. Not a big deal. We woke up the next morning and pulled up the hotness, and we had actually jumped Gloomhaven, and Gloomhaven was 2. We jumped up to number 1, and this was the day before, or it may even have been launch day for the campaign. And it was you're right. It's one of those small victories. It was short lived. We were number 1 for a day before Gloomhaven took its crown back. But just to be able to say that we were number 1 on the hotness above Gloomhaven, made us all happy, made us all smile, because we really didn't think it was going to happen, because there's so much activity around Gloomhaven. Even now, you look at the hotness now, and Gloomhaven's always in the top. If it's not the top game, it's in the top 2 or 3. I think Batman's probably got it right now, number 1 on the hotness.
Yeah, for sure. I just barely looked. Yeah, Batman got it.
Yeah, Batman's got a lot of hype right now around it, and the other one that I saw, because obviously being on BGG, I keep an eye on the hotness a lot for not only our games, but for what's out there and what's going on. And if Gloomhaven wasn't number 1, it was Rising Sun. Rising Sun and Gloomhaven have been jumping over each other back and forth for the number 1, number 2 position. And now, Batman. Yesterday, I saw Batman was on there. And I think it was there again today, number 1, because there's a lot of hype around Batman right now, having just launched this week. So.
Yeah, do you know what it's at? Last I checked before I left work, it was at, I want to say 2.6, somewhere in the millions or whatnot.
I am not sure. I know when I looked at it the other day, it was like you said, it was in that $2 million range. On the page, and it's probably I would, if it's not at 3, it's getting pretty darn close. It looks like, I'm just pulling it up here while we're talking. It looks like they're actually, I guess they're just under 2.5 right now, 2.5 million. But they still have 28 days to go in the campaign, so they've got plenty of time to blow it out of the water. I mean, it's probably gonna, I would guess it's probably gonna end up being a $5 million campaign when all's said and done, if not more than that.
For sure. So when something like that hits, or with hate, does that affect you guys running Kickstarter? I know you guys are, at least with Western Legends, you're kind of big, but being a new company and whatnot as well, does that do you guys take a hit from anything like that?
I don't. I mean, we saw and I'll speak to Western Legends specifically, because the big thing that we launched Western Legends on the 9th of January, and then a week later, hate hit. CMON launched hate, and honestly, we were. Going into the Kickstarter, one of the things I always track on the back end at the end of every day is I always track, number of pledges that came in, number of cancellations we have. I keep an eye on those kinds of things so we can keep an eye on trends, and we're very data driven on the back end, which is incredible. So, making sure we have all the data recorded in spreadsheets. So every day I go in and update a spreadsheet with number of pledges, number of cancellations, what are we dollar wise, what are we percentage of funding, and all of that, so that it's there. And I was expecting that day that hate launched, I was expecting to see a lot of cancellations. I was expecting to see a good somewhere in the 50 to 70 range of cancellations that day, maybe even more than that, and we really didn't see that much. And I thought, okay, we didn't see a lot today, but when people start realizing, okay, now I've backed Western Legends and I've backed hate, and who knows what else there's back, because Kickstarter there's so many incredible projects on Kickstarter that if you back them all, there's a good chance you're not paying your mortgage or your rent that month, because there's so much good content that designers are putting out there. Not just companies like CMON or us or IDW is coming back onto Kickstarter. I've seen TMG. You've got big publishers that are using Kickstarter, but there's a lot of things that are coming from smaller publishers that are brilliant designs. So I didn't see the drop off that I expected to see with hate. And with Batman, this week again, Batman launched this week, and I think I did again. We didn't see a lot of cancellations on our end. We did have a couple that and then when I reached out to people, because I always like to reach out and just say, hey, how can we improve? Did we do something in the campaign? Is there something in the game that what kind of feedback can you give us so we can do it better the next time? It's always from the standpoint of we want to improve ourselves, we want to improve our product, we want to improve our presentation. So I always like to get feedback, and that's one of the beautiful things of Kickstarter, because I can do that. I can reach out and say, hey, I noticed you were pledged and you decided to cancel. How can we improve? What kind? Whether it's something that rubbed you the wrong way, and 9 times out of 10, it's just a financial. People reply, "Oh, it's nothing you did. It's just a financial thing on my end." I had literally one person, that said that he backed Batman and he needed to drop Us so that his wife didn't kill him. So, and he said he dropped a couple other projects as well because he wanted Batman that bad. And Batman's a huge IP. I'm a giant Batman fan myself, so I get it. But I think, to me, when a big project like that launches on Kickstarter, something like a new CMON game hits, you have Hate, and you have Batman now that's hit. When these big projects hit Kickstarter, to me, I think it helps out. It really does a good job of helping the quote unquote little guy, because when CMON throws something on Kickstarter, yes, there's a population of people that come on Kickstarter. Hey, I'm going to back this CMON game. I'm going to click the pledge button, and I'm going to jump right off of Kickstarter. That's all I was there to do. I don't think the majority of gamers work like that, though. I just, speaking from my own experience as a backer on Kickstarter, you go on and, hey, this game launched. I know I want to back it that day. I get on there, I back it. I don't jump right off of Kickstarter, because as soon as you click that back button and you get the thank you for pledging page, right there at the bottom of the page is, here are some other things you may be interested in. And so you start browsing the page a little bit and looking for things. And so I feel like companies like CMON and TMG and these companies that come in, these larger companies that a lot of people question, oh, well, why are they using Kickstarter for this? To me, it doesn't. I don't see that as an issue. I actually like that those big companies are there, because it helps bring eyes to smaller projects that don't have the hype around them, or they haven't. Maybe a smaller designer. Maybe it's a couple of guys who designed a game in their garage. In the nights after working their 8 and 10 hour shifts, and they've got this game they're trying to get published. They don't have a giant marketing budget like someone like CMON or TMG or even Eagle Griffin has, and so they're able to benefit from the marketing that's pulling the people to the platform, and then people are hanging out on the platform and continue to look at other projects, and they may just run across that guy's project and say, ooh, I like this, I want to look more, I want to learn more, and they may not back right then and there, but that's where Kickstarter's handy dandy little remind me button comes into play. They click that remind me so they can continue looking at it, or maybe they throw a buck at it so that throw $1 on the backing so they can get campaign updates and keep an eye on the campaign, and then maybe choose to upgrade their pledge later. So I really like the fact that these large companies are out there, because I think it just brings more traffic to the site, which is better for everyone.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. I noticed when, especially around Christmas time and stuff, you don't see a lot of projects going on. But then, and then Hate launched or whatnot, and I saw there was nothing being, because I watch Kickstarter like a hawk every day or whatnot, and there was nothing really launching. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Hate goes off, or maybe 48 hours before or whatnot, you start seeing, it was like Christmas with all. I want to say there was 20 plus Kickstarters that launched that first Tuesday after Hate, or when Hate was about done.
Yeah, Kickstarter is an interesting beast, because when you get to, I would say November's probably about the last month that's busy. And then you get to December, and of course you're in the holidays. So no company's going to want to run Kickstarter during Christmas time, because everybody's money's committed to Christmas and all of that. So you don't see a lot of campaigns run there. And January tends to stay a little bit light, because Christmas is over, but now people have those Christmas credit card bills that are due in January. So it starts to pick up a little bit in January. But when you get to February, and this is just when we launched Kami-sama on the 20th of February. We launched Kami-sama then. That week, starting on that Tuesday and going through the following Monday, there were almost 40 projects that launched on Kickstarter. And within the Tuesday counting the Tuesday that we launched and the Wednesday after that, so the 20th and the 21st, there were 28 of those 40-some projects came out in those 2 days. And they're not just small projects. We're talking, the day that we launched was also the day that AEG launched Edge of Darkness. So we had that big game there. City of Gears launched that day. So there were some big hyped projects. And the very next day on Wednesday, Final Frontier, that did the fantastic games like Cavern Tavern and Rise of Nobility, launched Robin Hood and the Merry Men the very next day after we launched Kami-sama. And then, of course, a week later on the 27th, we had Batman hit, and then Lucky Duck put out Chronicles of Crime as well, which looks fantastic. So there's just so many cool projects that are out there that you almost can't keep up with it. And the thing is, what's kind of a even crazier to think about is we're only just now barely into March. I mean, we're talking March 2nd right now. And, I know Tuesday, Druid City's got their next game coming out, Sorcerer City, from Scott Caputo. There's so many games that are coming out in March that people are already looking at. And, we're not even really in the thick of it yet. I mean, things are really going to take off once we get into March and April and May, and people start launching things on Kickstarter, especially here in the next probably couple of months, because people are going to want to try and push these games out and have them ready to release at Essen. So it's going to be, it's going to be crazy, and I think 2018 is going to be a huge year for Kickstarter. 2017 was a big year for Kickstarter, but I would be shocked if 2018 is not even bigger, just because now you have companies who, maybe they ran one Kickstarter back in 2017, and they've seen, they had, good return on it. They've made some good money. They put out a great game. They've, not only was the game well received, but good critical acclaim, and so people want to know what they're going to do next. And so you have companies now that are coming and pushing those things out. I mean, Batman's a great example of that. Monolith just had a great Kickstarter campaign not too long ago with Mythic Battles Pantheon. So why would and of course the Conan that the whole system itself is based on. So those two games were critically well received. So let's take the Conan mechanisms and let's put it on a more familiar IP now, so that people are more familiar with Batman than they are with Conan the Barbarian, and keep the same mechanics in place, tweak them a little bit. But I think that those kinds of things are going to happen more and more, and you're going to see more projects hitting Kickstarter. And I think when you look at the total dollars that come in through Kickstarter in 2018. Tabletop gaming is going to be bigger in 2018 than it was in 2017. It's just going to continue to grow.
I know I've already, what do you call it? Because I make a little bit of money off of some of the Kickstarters, just trying to help promote them on the podcast or whatnot. And compared to last year, I've already, I want to say, just helping people out and whatnot, I already made, last I checked, at least 30% of what I made all of 2017. And it's like I said, just February over or whatnot.
Exactly.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, we're in for a crazy 2018, and that's just Kickstarter. I mean, the people that aren't even going to Kickstarter, they're just going straight to retail. There are a ton of great games that are set to come out in 2018, and I think this is really going to be a fantastic year for games.
For sure, yeah, they keep on going. There's so many great games out there. Jumping back to 2017 really quick before we get to the elephant in the room. So with your Western Legends or whatnot, how long, do you know, is there an approximate date on when people have to have their pledge manager taken care of so they can get the game?
We haven't finalized the pledge manager date yet for Western Legends. We want to keep the pledge manager open absolutely as long as we possibly can before we have to shut it down to begin fulfillment, start shipping at, sending addresses to the fulfillment partners, and getting those things together. We're anticipating and still on track for an August delivery of Western Legends. So looking to have it be a Gen Con release this year, which is a really fast turnaround time for a game that's got a lot of miniatures in it and a lot of characters, then with some asymmetry there. But luckily we're a little bit different. Again, Western Legends was our first Kickstarter campaign that we ran under the Kolossal Games umbrella. But there are a lot of folks on the back end that are experienced in this. I mentioned Travis and his experience with Kickstarter. We work with very closely and partner with some of the folks from Madigo. Arnaud out there is one of our great. He helps us a lot with production and those types of things. And so and even using a lot of the same facilities that Madigo uses. So when you see those Madigo titles like Kemet and Inish and Cyclades and those types of games come out, we're going to be that same kind of quality with what comes out with Western Legends. And so all of the files are already in the hands of the manufacturer. They're in the process of getting things done and printed. We're actually getting ready for the people who backed Western Legends at a level that included the 52 card poker deck. We literally just had a deck of cards that included the Western Legends art, and it's literally just your typical 52 card deck with a couple of aces in there, so I guess it's 54 cards. But those are actually getting ready to ship out here very soon. We actually sent out an update last week, just letting people know, or earlier this week, letting people know that we're going to be sending addresses to our shipping partner so that we can start fulfilling those poker decks, because they're basically printed and ready to go. So that's an exciting thing and a very quick turnaround. Again, we just closed that campaign a month ago, and we're already fulfilling a part of it. That's got some excitement going again, and people kind of chiming in on Board Game Geek and getting kind of back into the hype of Western Legends and that open sandbox nature again, and it's that excitement started to pick back up because people are starting to see, ooh, we're about to get a piece of it in our hands within the next month or so. Here, I would fully suspect that we're going to start shipping those things out here within the next couple of weeks, I would guess. So people are probably going to start receiving those, end of March, I would guess. By the end of March, a lot of people should have them in hand. So probably end of March, early April, before all of that's completed with the poker decks. And then, like I said, the game itself is going to fulfill in August to backers, and we'll have a anticipated Gen Con release for that.
Okay, yeah, so I better hurry because the other day, because I was able to do the $9 a gambler, so I can come back in and get the rest, and we just got our tax money. I better hurry because Richard on We're Not Wizards, he recently had somebody on that was talking, and the guest he had on, I forget who it was, but they totally forgot to fill out their pledge manager for Rising Sun, so they didn't get their game.
Oh yeah. Rising Sun was one of those that, and luckily CMON does a good job with their Kickstarter campaigns of letting everyone know that, hey, we're closing the pledge manager on this date, and if that date changes, they're really good about letting you know. But I think that a lot of the time, I had one where I missed the pledge manager initially, and it wasn't a situation where the pledge got canceled. It was I didn't fill it out, and I got a notification that, hey, you've missed the date for Wave 1 shipping. If you get it in by this date, you'll be in our Wave 2. So I'm part of Wave 2 shipping, and I think that was for, I want to say that was for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea from Gamelin Games. I think I ended up in Wave 2 because it took me so long to fill out my Pledge Manager and decide what add-ons I wanted and all that fun stuff. But Pledge Manager for Western Legends, you mentioned you backed at the $9, the Gambler level. If you've not done it, make sure you've confirmed your address in Pledge Manager, because we'll be locking those down here over the weekend. So so make sure your address in there is up to date, because whatever's in there, I think we're going to pull those addresses. We've got some things we're doing over the weekend. I think we're going to pull addresses and ship them final addresses to our fulfillment partner on Monday to get that process started. But so make sure your address is correct there. But then you'll have time to update your upgrade your pledge to a level that includes the game. I've been recommending, just because right now, like I said, we don't have a specific date yet on when we're going to shut that pledge manager down. I've just been recommending people make sure they get that done. Just play it safe and make sure it's done by the end of March. Sooner the better, obviously, but because I don't suspect we're going to shut the pledge manager down during the month of March, but I wouldn't want to push it much past that, because it is going to take time for fulfillment houses and things to get addresses sorted and get things ready on their end, so they know how many packages they're expecting from manufacturing to arrive in their warehouses and all that. So I've been recommending everyone, if you're looking to upgrade your pledge and finalize your pledge manager, I would do it no later than the end of March. And of course, that could change if we, like I said, we're going to be, obviously continuing to send updates out about Western Legends through the campaign page, and if we see that date is going to get pushed into April, there certainly will be a campaign update. And ultimately, once we do have a date, there will be an update that says, here's your final date. Let's say, whatever that arbitrary date is, here's the date we're going to close Pledge Manager. And then we'll send out a 48-hour notice prior to that date as well, as kind of a reminder, hey, you've got 48 hours to lock your pledge in and get it locked down before we lock everything for fulfillment. So, and it will be, in the situation that we have where we're fulfilling in August and doing a really quick turnaround on that Kickstarter campaign, it will be a situation where, when it's time to shut the pledge manager down, we won't be able to extend it without, hurting the delivery timeline that we, are really adamant about sticking to.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I better get on that. And if anybody listening is back that and wants to go ahead and needs to get their pledge manager taken care of, go ahead and do that right now. You can pause the podcast, or you can multitask, I guess. Well, now you probably don't want to multitask because you really want to hear this. So about the elephant in the room, I guess, Mark, the word on the street is you guys have a new game on Kickstarter. Well, I guess it's almost over, but what can you tell us about Kami-sama, or however you say that?
Yeah, Kami-sama. This game is set in rural Japan and kind of it's kind of a rural village at the base of a mountain, and you've got 4 villages that are at the base of the mountain. What's neat about the game is it combines a lot of familiar mechanics to a lot of gamers, a lot of familiar mechanisms. So things like asymmetrical player powers, area control, set collection, a little bit of card drafting, some pattern building. These very familiar mechanisms are in the game, so it makes you pick up the game and easy to learn. But all of it takes place on this circular board. It's literally just a big 16-inch diameter circle on the board, and the board is divided into 4 quadrants. The game plays 2 to 4 players in a full 4-player count. You've got everyone sitting around the table. You've got 4 sections of the board and 4 players. Well, everyone plays in one quadrant of the board that's facing them. That's their village that they're playing in, and the players are taking on the role of kami, which are Japanese spirits. And in Shintoism, there are basically spirits of everything, and there can be multiple spirits of the river, multiple spirits of wind, multiple spirits of the trees. And so, in the game, you take on the role of one of these kami, one of these Japanese spirits, and you're basically spreading your influence across these 4 villages at the base of this mountain, and you're trying to gain the favor of the people in the village while maintaining your connection with nature, which is a very important aspect of the game, is balancing your favor of the people with your connection in nature, and that helps you score points. But the uniqueness of the game is each of the kami, they all have the ability to add a shrine or remove a shrine in their current village or that current quadrant of the board that's facing them. And so you're really only going to affect a quarter of the board. So you're going to use your actions. You're going to pop your shrines on the board or remove them, and then you have a unique set of kami abilities or spirit abilities that only you can do. So we really pushed asymmetry to its limits with this. Every character in the game has the add or remove shrine ability. Everything else is completely different. They all have a passive ability that's always on. They have a couple of abilities that cost them, one of their action cubes to activate, and then they all have a more powerful ability that costs 2 of the action cubes. And they all work differently. So we may have, there may be one who cares about the field spaces on the board a little more. There may be one who cares about the forest spaces more and gets bonuses there. Some of the kami or some of the spirits have little tokens they use that actually get placed on the board that either grant them benefits or hurt an opponent that goes there. So there are so many different ways to play. There's so much replayability packed into this. But once I've taken my turn in my quadrant of the board, and the other 3 players have done the same, and we're all going to go one at a time. I'm taking my actions, then the player to my left takes theirs, and so on and so forth. Once it gets back around to me, before I take my next set of actions, the board rotates a quarter turn clockwise. So now, the village that was to my right that my opponent just played in, I now have their shrines in front of me, and my shrines I just placed are now to my opponent in the left. And so now, what I just did is being affected by my other opponents, and I'm affecting what they're doing, and the board's going to rotate 4 times, so we're going to go through so everyone's going to have an opportunity to play in each quadrant of the board during each year or each round. And then once that happens, we look at we basically look at the villages and determine who has influence in each of the 4 villages, and influence is determined by who has their shrines clustered, kind of a not really a contiguous chain, so not necessarily a Catan longest chain type deal, but just if you've got a cluster of shrines that are together orthogonally that you can count up. If you've got the most of those, then you draw. We'll say a 4-player game, we take 4 villagers off of the top of the villager deck for the farming village, which is one of the 4 villages, and whoever has the longest chain of shrines gets first pick of those 4 villagers, and those villagers give you some kind of ability when you claim them, usually giving you some favor, some nature, which is a couple tracks you can climb up. Some of them let you grab tokens from the board, but there's all these different ways and different paths of victory, because what you're doing is certain spaces on the board when you place your shrines, you're gaining a couple of favor. You're gaining 2 favor for going in a field. You place a shrine in a forest, you get 2 nature. And you're going to climb these nature and favor tracks all the way, as much as you possibly can as you're placing your shrines. But the trick is when we get to scoring at the end of the year, after we've done all the drafting of the villagers, we look at those favor and nature tracks, and the lower of your 2 tracks gets converted to victory points. So if I've got 11 on my favor track but only 4 on my nature, I'm only scoring 4 points on that round because I didn't balance those tracks very well. So yeah, 11 favor is fantastic, but if I'm at 4 nature, it didn't really do myself any favor. It'd be better for me to have 6 favor and 6 nature and score 6 points. So having that balance and striking that balance is very important. But then you also have, I mentioned some set collection. you have the ability, as you're placing your shrines in the villages, there is a goal for every single year that is out on the board, and if you complete that goal, and it's literally just a pattern that you can lay your shrines in, so it might be a T shape, or it might be an L shape of some kind, or maybe the goal wants you to control a certain type of space. Maybe it wants you to be in 2 fields in a forest, for example. If you complete that goal, you immediately gain a token that corresponds to that village. So if I do that in the farming village, I gain a farming village token. If I do it in the fishing village, I get a fishing village token, so on and so forth. And what's neat about those is each one of those tokens that I've gained is worth 1 point at the end of the game. But if I ever have a set of all 4 village tokens, I immediately cash them in for 6 points. So what's really cool is as you're going through and you're playing the game, there are all of these little, what we've kind of started referring to in house as these little dopamine hits, these little highs that you get as you're playing the game, because, okay, I completed this goal, I immediately get the village token for completing that goal. So I don't have to wait till the end of the year and let my opponents wreck all my shrines. I immediately grab that. So that feels good. I got my village token. When I get that 4th one and I complete a set, I immediately cash them in for 6 points. So again, that feels really good. Taking an action that removes a shrine out of and breaks up a chain of my opponent's stuff and gives me influence in the village feels good. So there's a lot of these feel good moments that happen throughout the game as you're playing. And you're only another interesting thing about this is you're only ever going to take 12 turns in the game, because you're going to play you're going to play in each of the 4 villages for the first year, and then you're going to do drafting of villagers and do scoring, and then you're going to play a second year, do the same drafting and the same scoring, and you're going to play a third year. So you play through 3 years, each year being 4 turns. So you're only going to play 12 turns the entire game, but there's so much that happens on the board, and that ever-changing board state of shrines being moved and replaced and removed and added. There's so much going on that it feels like a longer game, and it feels like you've accomplished something. And then at the end of the game, the board just looks gorgeous because there's all these different colored shrines and that are spread out in different shapes, and it's just a fantastic table presentation, and we've never had a problem with it seems like every time we've had it on a table, even in a prototype form, someone walks over and sees this round board on the table and loves to just go, wait a minute, what is that? And just just looks at it, and it definitely brings in the eye, because it's something different. You don't see a round board in board games very often.
And it sounds like there's a lot of choices, even with the roundness or whatnot. I hear I suffer from AP, or analysis paralysis. Are my friends or my family going to hate me more if we get this game and play it?
I don't believe so. We have, yes, it can be. There are a lot of choices to be made, but all of your choices are going to, be determined by what your specific spirit does, what your abilities are, and you have 1 passive ability, and you have 3 other abilities that you're able to do, and so you really have 4 things that you're really going to be choosing from. Now, there's some choices. Where do I do these things on the board? But the villages themselves are very small. They're very contained. You're talking 15 spaces in each village, so there's not something crazy like 60 spaces to choose from in each village. You've got 15 spaces to choose from, and the nice thing about it is, because you have the goal cards that are there that want you to either control a certain type of space or a certain arrangement of your shrines in the village, it really helps guide you toward what you want to be doing. And so a lot of times you can look at the village and go, okay, I need 2 fields in a forest. I currently have a forest. I need those 2 fields. And that kind of guides you, because, okay, now I just need to look at my abilities and figure out with the action cubes that I have, how do I get my opponents out of those fields so I can get my shrines in there. So the goals help guide you. And then where your shrines, if you see you're not going to be able to get the goal, then you start looking at, okay, where can I go to get favor in nature and balance those tracks out? So there's another strategy that you can, if you're we're playing the token and wanting those goals for the tokens, but you see you can't do it, maybe you switch your strategy up and start trying to max those favor in nature tracks out, or keep them balanced to score as many points as you can. And then I've seen players that look at the board and go, okay, I've got a chain of 3 shrines. I want to keep that chain going so that I can draft those villagers at the end, because they're worth in-game points. Each of those villagers is worth some points at the end of the game. So there's so many different ways to score points in this, and really the 3 things are your goals, which are going to guide your decisions, where your shrines already are on the board, of course, for patterns and for goal, for influence, and then of course your regular commie ability. So that while it seems like there are a lot of choices, and there really are, no 2 games are going to be alike. Even if I play the same spirit every single time I sit down to play, I'm going to play that spirit differently based on what other spirits are at the table, because they're one spirit, I always use the example, we have one spirit who is a river spirit, and she loves the spaces on the board that are near water. And there's a other kami or other spirits in the game that say, hey, I can place my shrine in one of these stilt houses, which are the houses that are near the water. I can place a shrine on a stilt house in any village, and that may be fantastic, except for the fact that that river spirit is able to always place or remove in those stilt houses anywhere on the board for the entire game. So maybe you avoid those spaces if she's being played, because so there's some different combos and things that happen, but the replay value on this is so high. But it's not really an AP problem, especially your first couple of games may be a little tough, and the AP can get a little bit more difficult as the years go on, like the actual rounds go on. The first year, the board is empty. There's plenty of spaces to put shrines down. Most players are going, okay, that's the goal I need. Okay, I'm going to use my 3 action cubes to add these 3 shrines exactly how that goal tells me to add them, so I can grab that token, because those tokens become a very quick and easy 6 points in the first year. When you get to that second year, though, the board is full of shrines, so now you do have to move people out of the way. So the AP gets a little bit, because now you're doing a little bit of puzzle solving. How do I move these out to move myself in? But we've never had an issue where a player's been stuck at the table and just staring at the board. You're probably looking at a 60-minute play time. Once you're used to playing the game, your first few games may run you 90 minutes while you're learning your spirit abilities and how they best affect how they best affect the board.
Well, there you go. That's not too shabby. Cool. Now it sounds like I know it sounds like you're in love with the game. I know my wife's an author, and I tell her I like her books and whatnot. So, but she tells me I'm biased. So perhaps you're a little bit biased about Kami-sama. Per se, somebody doesn't want to necessarily take your word for it. Are there any notable reviewers or any reviews that they can look at online, see what the other people might think?
There are. Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple of them on the Kickstarter page. Rado did a fantastic run through and did his final thoughts. That's on the Kickstarter page. We have the David and Jeremy, A Man vs. Meeple, did a preview video, gave some of their thoughts. They did a really good job of overview of how the game is played, and they also have Travis as well as the game's designer AJ Lambeth are on the show interviewing. We're lucky Man vs. Meeple is local to us, so it's easy for us to drive over there and pop in their studio and do some video with them, so that's fantastic.
There you go. Quick plug for them too. They currently have a Kickstarter going on for Man vs. Meeple, I believe.
They do, yes. It just launched yesterday. So if you like the content that they're putting out and like what they're doing, I would definitely recommend supporting them. They have a lot they put out. It's not just reviews. They have their new chit chat segment. They do their What's Next segment and talk about all the games that are coming up. So they do a lot on that channel. So if you like the content, I would definitely another plug for them, because they're great. And if you like what they do, I would highly recommend supporting that Kickstarter. It launched yesterday on the 1st, and I think it's running the entire month of March before it closes down.
Cool. And then it looks like Edo, and is there any others that maybe aren't on the Kickstarter page?
Yep, Edo did one for us, and then Dale Yu from Dale Yu of the Opinionated Gamers did a written review for us, and we just had earlier this week the Dice Tower does a segment on their channel. I think it comes out every 2 weeks, called Crowd Surfing, where they have some contributors that come in and take a look at Kickstarter games, and we had the privilege of having Robert Geistlinger do a segment on Kami-sama for this recent episode of Crowd Surfing. So if you go over to YouTube and do a search for Crowd Surfing Dice Tower, the most recent episode here from, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, the 27th or 28th of February. Robert spends about 5 minutes. He gives an overview of the game. He talks about the game and his impressions of it. He actually sat down and learned the game with Travis this past weekend at EpicCon down in Florida, big old prototyping convention. So Travis sat down and taught him the game. He gave his thoughts on it in the video, and also does an interview with Travis there. But yeah, it's a fantastic. You can. I work, obviously, I'm a Kolossal employee. I love Kolossal Games and the games we got coming out. But I really feel like Kami-sama is a game that when people see it on the table and they sit down and play it, it's an experience they're going to remember. It's different than anything that's out there. It's definitely a special game in terms of what it brings and the new things that it brings. Like I said, it's all based in the familiar, so it's easy to learn, because gamers know area control, and we know set collection, and we know asymmetrical player powers, and those are terms that to gamers mean some things, and you already have an idea in your mind of how that's going to work. But it kind of flips a little bit of that on its head and does some different things with it that I think is really unique. And And the big piece of that is the rotating board. That's a really unique piece that the board spins. And the game can get a little aggressive at times where you're removing shrines, but because you're so compartmentalized on the one village or the one quadrant of the board that you're playing in, it's not so much of a, I can't believe you did that to me. I spent 30 minutes building up that army and now you've wiped it off the board in 10 seconds. And you don't have that same feeling because you may have one village where you're getting devastated, but chances are if that's the case, your other 3 villages are looking pretty good because everyone's focusing on the one. So it never feels really nasty. In fact, there have been times where I've played the game and the board rotates back around and I'm like, well, I had 6 shrines here. Why do I only have 2? And I don't even realize what's happened because I've been so focused on hey, this village is coming to me next. This is what I'm going to do and kind of planning out my turns. So it's almost a humorous take, that aspect that happens that can happen in the game when it comes around. Like, hey, where'd all my shrines go? It's kind of funny. So, but I would definitely encourage folks that if you're looking for a game that's different than something you've played before, and it's something that you can learn quickly. Again, it's not very heavy learning wise, other than the ones there is some familiarization with the spirits themselves, but we have, even in our rule book here, for your first game, here are the 4 spirits, the 4 kami we suggest you play with, because they're powers are pretty straightforward. I think one of them uses some tokens, but for the most part, they don't use tokens. It's literally just this person can do this person can do this, and so it makes it a lot easier to kind of just pick up on how the mechanics of the game work, and then you can throw the more advanced kami in there. There are 8 kami in the base game. We have an expansion called the Spirit Way that includes 4 more kami, including, for those that have heard the podcasts that are out there, especially the folks at Blue Peg, Pink Peg, absolutely love the Radish Spirit out there. He's in the expansion. So there's a total of 12 kami if you get the base game and the expansion. And we just unlocked our 4th new kami in stretch goals. So right now we're up to a total of 16 kami if you do the base game and the expansion on Kickstarter. And every single one of those spirits plays extremely differently than the rest. So you may look at them and go, okay, this kami's got 4 tokens and this kami over here's got 4 tokens. They can't be that different. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. So it just the asymmetry and the design of these is so brilliant in coming up with a way of making each one completely different, and not just a slight tweak on hey, we've got this guy that deals with wind and likes moving shrines around. Let's tweak that a little bit to create this kami over here. They're completely different from one another. So I think people are going to be surprised. And quite honestly, this is a game that, I think it's going to be a big hit. Right now, if you look at the Kickstarter page and it's not going nuts, it's good. It's still moving along at a nice, comfortable pace. We're not, we're certainly not freaking out and going, oh, this game's failing. It's not. It's moving at a nice, reasonable pace. But there are people out there that have been around Kickstarter enough, they're going to look at it and go, I can't believe this thing hasn't taken off faster or anything like that. But I think there are going to be a lot of people that after the Kickstarter campaign closes, if they didn't back it at the Kickstarter and they see it in retail and they play it in retail, or they start seeing reviews once it's in retail, there's going to be that kind of regret that I didn't back it and didn't get in on it, because it really is, like I said, it's a special game that people just don't see. It's not a new take. It's not like a rehashing of a game that's out there. This is something completely original and completely new that that I think is right now I would almost say it's flying under a lot of radars. But I think as the campaign's wheeling in here and its last, we've got about another 9 or 10 days left in the campaign. We're going through the 11th of March. So a little over a week here for you to get in on the campaign. But it definitely, if it's something that, if you've heard something here that just makes you want to take a look, feel free, jump over, take a look, pop in the comments and ask questions, send us messages on Kickstarter. Definitely ask questions on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, BGG. We're out there all the time scouring the internet for questions about the game so that we can answer anything that's out there. And if nothing else, I would encourage you, if you just want to shoot an email our way, just shoot us an email, kickstarter@kolossalgames.com, and we'll answer questions there too. So, and that is, for those that aren't familiar, Kolossal is Kolossal with a K, so it's KOLOSSAL. So, but yeah, Kickstarter at kolossalgames.com. We can answer any questions there as well. But I'd highly encourage anyone who's looking for something different to put on the table that's going to have a ton of replay value for the value, for the money that comes into it. I think it's going to be a great fit, because you're looking, you could get the base game for less than $50 and have hours of replay value in this game.
Well, there you go. There you go. Now, per se, somebody's fallen asleep. It wouldn't be because of the game Kami-sama. It might be because you talk a lot, and also, but more importantly, it's probably because I have put out a lot of content. So they mainly get tired of my voice because I've had it's like I have had 31 episodes by I think the morning we recorded this, and it just barely turned over into March. And so they get tired of my podcast or whatnot. They get tired of me droning on and whatnot. But now they're suddenly jolted awake, so they don't hit that oncoming traffic and whatnot. So you have their full attention for about a minute. What would you tell them? Why should they take a chance on Kami-sama right now as opposed to just get it in retail, like you said?
Yeah, the big thing with Kami-sama in Kickstarter, if you're even on the fence about it, get it during the campaign because, obviously, if you're familiar with Kickstarter, stretch goals are a big thing on Kickstarter and unlocking new, fresh content. We handle stretch goals a little bit differently than how some campaigns do it. We're unlocking stretch goals, every day. We unlock something on there. If it's a component upgrade, cards getting thicker, thicker punch board, those kinds of things, those go right into the game. Obviously the base game, the expansion. However, we do have when we got funded, we unlocked our first stretch goal. That first stretch goal was to start building an expansion, a Kickstarter expansion, and we're calling that expansion the Awakened. And the new Kami, so the new spirits that we're unlocking, we've unlocked a couple of new villagers that go into those villager decks that do some different things. Those are being added into the Awakened expansion, and that Awakened expansion is being provided free for every single Kickstarter backer that backs at a level to get the game. Whether you're doing just the game or you want the game and the expansion, you're going to get the stretch goal, that Awakened expansion. When the game goes to retail, that Awakened expansion is going to be sold separately, and it's not going to be in traditional retail. The Spirit Way expansion will be, but the Awakened expansion with all the stretch goals is going to be sold exclusively through us, through conventions. We'll have a web store; people can get it through there. But you're going to be paying extra for that, and it could be to the tune of, depending on what gets unlocked, it could be a $20, $30 expansion that's being included at no cost. So you're going to save yourself the money on that. Not have to track us down at a convention, not have to order it through a web store and pay extra shipping cost on it. I would definitely, if you're even remotely on the fence with Kami-sama, watch the videos that are on the our how to play video. You can watch. We've got a couple of live streams. We've done some live streams. We'll probably do another one next week, I would suspect. Of just the Kolossal team sitting down and playing the game and answering questions. Those live streams are on our YouTube channel as well as on Kickstarter. You can watch those. Obviously, the reviewer videos are there. You can review those. And if you have any questions after that, ask us. We're happy to answer any question. Even if it's something where you look at it and you go, I'm not so sure about this. I'm kind of hesitant because it looks like the game doesn't do this. Ask those types of questions. We're happy to answer. But I would highly encourage you, if you're even thinking about Kami-sama, try to get in before the campaign ends so that you can take advantage of that Awakened expansion, because you're going to be getting, like I said, at a $30 expansion, maybe being $20, but you're still going to save that money on the expansion itself, backing now rather than having to wait and get it, tracking us down at a convention and whatnot. So I would definitely encourage you to do that, and hit us up on social media with questions there. We're happy to help.
Yeah, so if you don't have that 120 or 320 or whatever they're asking for on Batman, but you still want an awesome game, it looks like the highest one is $54. Is that right, Mark?
It is. Yep. You can pledge the base game itself at the Villager. We call it the Villager pledge level. Get you the base game and all the stretch goals at $42, and then your shipping cost, depending on where you are in the world. Shipping in the States, I believe, is $7. And then we have the next level up is what we call the Kami pledge level, and that includes the base game, the Spirit Way expansion, and the stretch goal expansion in there for $54. I think the shipping again in the U.S. is $7. But your shipping will be calculated there when you pledge. You punch in your location. It'll do all of that. So yeah, the highest pledge level is a $54 pledge level to get everything. So if you're looking at Batman, you got that $320 that's burning a hole in your pocket, you can come over to Kami-sama and get 6 copies of Kami-sama and share with your friends. So.
Well, there you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, and it looks like you have a French version as well as a Dutch version.
Yes, we are. With Western Legends, we had a French version, a French pledge level available because the designer of Western Legends, Hervé, is a French guy. Very cool, very, very smart designer. But because he was French and spent, 10 years taking his game through the French countryside and playing it at conventions and such with his friends, we felt we needed to do a French version. So with Western Legends, it was we needed 250 backers at a French level to publish, and we had a lot of interest from other languages. Well, if we get 250 German backers, can we do that? Can we do a German edition? And it just wasn't feasible with Western Legends. But we made sure that with Kami-sama, we wanted to do French backers and we wanted to do German. And so there are pledge levels there on the page. The costs don't change at all. So if you're looking at backing and wanted a French language version, it's not going to cost anything different to get it in French or in German. You pledge at those levels. If we hit 250 backers at those levels, so 250 French backers, will publish a French language edition. The same for the German. If you pledge at one of those levels, say you want a French level backer, a French language edition, we don't hit 250 backers, we're going to give everyone who backed at the French level the option of refunding their pledge or getting an English version. So you're not going to be out your pledge money and just not get a game. We're definitely going to be working with folks that are out there. We're completely confident we're going to have the French backers and the German backers that we need in order to make those translations happen. So I would encourage you there, if you do want the French language or the German language, or you need that, then I would definitely encourage you to pledge at those levels. The costs aren't any difference. The only difference is the language itself, and you're helping get to that 250 backer limit that we need.
Well, there you go. So if you, like you said, if you want to get 6 games instead of 1, go ahead and click the link. Well, like I said, we'll go ahead and leave all the links in the show notes so you don't have to type it in or whatnot. You can just be lazy like I am and just click the link and it'll take you straight there. And remember, all the games on our Kickstarter corner as well, though we've mentioned this quite a few times, as well as with the interview and whatnot. Just click that link. That shows support to Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, as well as these great Kickstarter companies that are creating games there. So we really appreciate the support. Now, just so I know we're running low on time or whatnot, but really quickly, Adventures in Application Acquisition is our next portion of the show. Really quickly, Mark, is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment? It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to board games. A while back ago, we had somebody who has an app on their phone that you can take a picture of anything and it'll tell you whether it's a hot dog or not.
That's pretty awesome. I think the app that gets more use than anything, I mean, obviously social media apps like Twitter and Facebook get used all the time on my phone, but I think the app that I use quite often is the BG Stats, the board game stats app, tracking my plays. There's a lot of cool statistical things that it does, so I can pull up and look at, for the month of February, what was my win percentage for the month, or who had the highest win percentage of all of my friends, and see those things. You can put things in there if you're doing a thing like a 10 by 10 challenge or a 100 by 1 challenge or something like that. You can add those challenges in the app, and it will help keep track of how you're doing. I can pull up my app at any time and see that for my 10 by 10 challenge, I'm not doing so hot. I've got 8 games played or something like that. And so the BG Stats app is fantastic. I use it to track plays. We use it to track even when we're doing development work on we're doing play tests of some of our prototypes, or we've made a tweak to the rules and we sit down to play. I use the BG Stats app to track the play time. So I'll pull it up and I'll have just a timer set and going in the app while we're playing. And then I can record our scores and I can share that with our developer, that here are the scores, here are the characters we played as, and here's the play time. And then we can make a note in there as well. So the BG Stats app is fantastic at iOS and Android both, for those that don't know. And then as far as, tabletop apps, game wise, I've been playing a lot of Roll For It lately. It's just a quick little game I can pull out, mindlessly tap the screen and drop some dice on some cards and try to collect points that way. You play to 40 points and you're done. So that comes out a lot. And then of course the old standby Star Realms. I play a lot of Star Realms with online friends. So a lot of board game media personalities. I've done Star Realms with Suzanne of the Dice Tower, Mandy of the Dice Tower, Jeremiah Acevedo, known as the Board Game Renegade, online. I've played Star Realms with Richard from We're Not Wizards. So there's a lot of board game personalities that I've just become friends with, that we sit down and do some online gaming through phone apps. So I love having apps in my pocket when I can't get a game to the table. It's a little bit of a substitute for it.
For sure. I love me some Star Realms. I got to go in and find out what our password is, because we bought it and have the login, but it's been a while since I've been able to log in and play that.
Absolutely. Well, I know I know I could be flooding my Star Realms challenges, but if anyone wants to play Star Realms against me, I'm open to it, and you can find me. You can just add me on Star Realms, and it's just Chubby Meeple, all one word.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, minus coming over to stalk you in your hometown or stalking you on the Star Realms app, how would people go about finding out about you or what you have going on online or what do you call it, Colossal Games has going on? How would they go about finding out about that?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is our social media. We're highly active on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are the big three that we use. We are at Kolossal Games, all one word at all three of those. Again, that's Kolossal with a K. So you can find us at Kolossal Games on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. KolossalGames.com. We have a website that has our games and our convention appearances that we're going to be, where we're going to be for those things. You can also find Kolossal Games, obviously, on Board Game Geek, with links to all of our games on Board Game Geek as well. So there's all kinds of places you can find us. And then as far as conventions, we've got plans to be at, Geekway to the West, Origins, Gen Con, Dice Tower Con. There's all kinds of things. We've got a couple local cons coming up here in March with Hoosier Con and Indy Con that we're going to be at, playing some of our prototypes and demoing some of our games with gamers. So looking forward to that here over the course of the next couple of weeks here, getting that started. So a lot going on with us. I definitely encourage you to follow us on social media, subscribe to us and our games on Board Game Geek so you can keep up to date with all of that. And again, we're happy to answer any questions that anyone has. So shoot them to us through social media, or if it's Kickstarter related, just Kickstarter at kolossalgames.com, and we will answer your question via email.
Cool beans. And I forgot to ask, if you own the rights to that BG, the game tracking app, what would be one thing you would do to fix it so it could be better?
With the BG Stats app, I would probably do some kind of a tweak to entering the players, because there are times where I've got friends in the app that I played games with maybe 6 months ago, and they end up far down the track, or maybe even having the ability to, when you're adding players to a game, being able to more easily add anonymous players, because there are times, especially at a convention, where I sit down and I play games and I may not know. I mean, I could get someone's name, and I usually will when I'm playing games with someone, but to spend time, we're sitting down and learning a game together, to spend time finding out, okay, what's your name, and hey, what's your BGG username, so I can add you to my app. It'd be a lot easier just to be able to a lot more simple way of adding an anonymous player to a game, so that we just add an anonymous player and say, hey, I played with this guy there. But I really enjoy the BG Stats app a lot. The integration with Board Game Geek is fantastic. I put them into the app, and I've got it set up to sync with my Board Game Geek account, so I can go to my computer and pull up Board Game Geek and see my plays. I can pull up Grim Forest and see how many games I've played of Grim Forest and all of that right there on Board Game Geek. So I really like that integration with it, and so I'm looking forward to see what they do, because they've added some really cool things here with some deep dive statistics and some challenges that can be added. So it'll be interesting to see where they take it from there.
Well, there you go. And we hope to make a green podcast. So if they're not listening now, maybe the creators of that app or the people who update it are listening. Maybe you heard it here first, hopefully, on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, on what Mark would do to make it a better app. Now, we don't want to keep you all night, Mark, but we really wanted to we want to thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. I've had a good time chatting with you, and looking forward to listening to not only this episode but other episodes as well in the future. I like the format that you guys have, and podcasts seem to always be in my ear while I'm working or driving. So I almost listen to those more than I do music when I'm in the car anymore.
Well, there you go. There you go. Do you have a favorite one that you're listening to currently?
I would say my top. I'll go top three, because for me, they really are. I can't really pick one above the other, but I'm a big Secret Cabal fan. Secret Cabal, I would say, with Secret Cabal, Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and what Rob, Christina, and Patrick are doing in Blue Peg, Pink Peg is fantastic. And then the other one that I listen to all the time, I love Brandon and Josh, the Brawlin' Brothers. It's just it's great, board game content, but it's great. It's good for a laugh. I love the dynamic of them kind of arguing and bouncing back and forth, and I love the whole thing, and their format is great. So yeah, my top three would be Brawlin' Brothers, Blue Peg, Pink Peg, Secret Cabal, not necessarily in that order, and it jumps around depending on what games they're covering and whatnot each week. And as my tastes change, I may like one better one week, but those are definitely my top three. It seems weird to not put the Dice Tower in the top three, seeing that I'm a contributor to that, but all three, two of those three are part of the Dice Tower network. Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and Secret Cabal are part of the network, so I don't feel as bad.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I've listened to Secret Cabal. It's been quite a while, but not the other two, I don't think. Or maybe I've heard Blue Peg, Pink Peg. I'll have to check them out, though. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'll really let you go for this time. We really appreciate it, Mark.
I appreciate you having me on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now.
Well, you heard her. I hope you're still with us. If you are, your treat is Kickstarter Corner, like she said. So let's get on with it. You've already listened to us a very long time. If you stuck around for all of Mark's interview, just a couple of Kickstarter Corners, not to bore you. We've got Liminal RPG. Liminal is a self-contained tabletop role-playing game about people caught in between the everyday modern world and world of magic. And yeah, they are really overfunded. They're $10,000 over their goal, and they still got 23 days to go, going through the 29th of March. Check it out on the Kickstarter. And then we've got, let's see here, Swords and Souls. Earn your escape from the underworld by fighting your former friends in this fast-paced combat card game. Get ready to get aggressive. This is from Fridge Crisis game. This is from Fridge Crisis Games, and they go through the 22nd of March. So check that one out on the Kickstarter. It looks pretty fun. And then let's see what else we got here. Animal Elements. We just barely interviewed this guy, the creator of it. But anyways, Animal Elements is a wild miming game. It's a gorilla with brain freeze, a hyena with a hangover. Act out ridiculous combinations in this hilarious, family-friendly game. And this is backed by Richard Simpson of We're Not Wizards. Also Tom Clare, who had a great game about animals as well on the Kickstarter a while back ago. That was pretty fun. And it looks like they're about a little shy of $1,000 from their goal, and they still got about a week to go. They end the 14th of March, so make sure you check that one out as well. And then, last but not least, we've got Palm Island. It's a portable card game. Take your island with you. Play anywhere with this portable deck transformer game. And yeah, check this game out by Portal Dragon. It looks pretty fun. It's for 10 years old and plus, 1 to 2 players, and it takes about 15 minutes. So yeah. Check it out on the Kickstarters. And did I say they're $40,000 over their goal? Well, they are. So yeah, check it out. Play it on lines, whatever you want to do. But that's an awesome game. And now, I know you've been with us for an hour and 15 minutes. So if you're not sleeping already, it's probably time for you to do so. Or hopefully you made it to work or wherever you were going safe. But anyways, time to get on with your lives. Time for us to get on with our lives. So go ahead, get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into the geek fold. And we will catch you all on the, you guessed it, flip side. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.